Okay, these pictures I got from a project has nothing to do with this, but I'm gonna read it anyway. Okay, so I'm gonna talk about proposed solutions, fair treatment, and less crime. Well, the proposed solutions that I have for this particular problem is that we could legalize them, we could pay them fairly, make laws, legislation to pay them fairly. We could also practice what we preach, as MLK would say. Somewhere I read of the freedom of assembly, etc. Now, we go to nonviolent protests and fair immigration policy. Also, to reduce the crime, we need to have minority-owned businesses. We need to encourage small farms and encourage more. We need more of the basic things like food. Okay, more grocery stores. More small farms, and make the laws that encourage growth in the poor neighborhoods. Fair treatment includes housing, jobs. The only way we're going to reach this is by stimulating the economy. Okay? So, we need to build up the infrastructure of our country. We need to treat the immigrants fairly. We can't exactly give them back this country, but we can give them a decent chance at rising up the ladder. Give them an equal opportunity. Okay? And not focus on the fact that they don't necessarily pay taxes or health care, but they throw in one way or another. Just because they're a burden on our healthcare system doesn't mean that they don't pay taxes that basically counteracts the harm done by that. Alright, so I've now basically taken you through the steps of why do these people protest. Because they come here and they don't have a say in the policies that affect them. They're treated like a bunch of modern day slaves. They are your modern day slaves. Okay? Slave labor is where you don't pay people. Well, if you give them just enough for them to eat and pack into low-income housing, that's the same as being a slave. You're giving them a shack to live in, and you're giving them enough food to get by. That's not acceptable. We need to change this country. We need to treat the immigrants fairly, and we need to treat the scum like the scum they are. And we need to stop listening to these cocky politicians and their condescending fucking speeches. Acting like they're the moral fucking authority around. Like they're not a bunch of ethnocentric fucking trash. We need to understand that the 109 million people in Mexico, okay, 9% of them are natives, and the Zapatista movement I talked about in my last video, they were rebels. And it's quite interesting that this name comes up again and again. And what you see is that the Zapatista National Liberation Army, kind of like the Siboneyes Elimination Army in America, they wanted rights for their people, and they're fighting against the establishment, and they're fighting for women's rights too. So the women's rights movement was thrown in there. The movement against the government was co-opted by a bunch of people who wanted to bring in Weishaupt's agenda of multiculturalism. They had vested interest in bringing down the establishment. Your Al-Qaeda, if you will. When did this take place? Well, it took place all the way to present day. Okay? It's a movement, it's a modern day movement. 1994, 2004. Understand what's going on. Multiculturalism in the North. Aborigines being mistreated. The Native Americans are some of the least educated people, and they're suffering just like the African Americans and the immigrants. And why? Because we are the visible minorities. That's why you have separatists. That's why you have places like the Hideaway of Palmares. 20,000 people. They fought off Portuguese assaults until 1968. Or excuse me, 1698. That's why you have black Brazilians. That's why you have mulattoes. Because of the slaves. Mixing with the Native Americans. Now, were there blacks in the ancient time? Could be. That's why they're restoring the ship. Oh, they say the ship's not seaworthy. Like the same principles that built that ship couldn't have built a fucking seaworthy ship, you fucking lying fools. Thousands of years old. Okay, so we talk about the Arab-Israeli conflicts. We talk about Native Americans. We talk about, you know, this video particularly is just, this particular video is actually me reading through my notes and touching on everything for me to prepare for something else I got to do. So this video, I apologize. This is one of the exceptions. I'm not an expert on this video. I'm kind of reading this for like the second or third time myself. I'm not really that deeply vested in the extermination, expulsion, secession, segregation, fusion, assimilation, and pluralism. Okay? These are the things that happened. The Holocaust, Zionism, and so on. So let me end it right here so I can get this protest together and go over my notes, and thank you.